In the posts collection, we have created the ability to have a repeated field with the array field that lets you pick more than one item. And this time we want to do the same for the authors, but we want to have the ability to have a different set of fields for each item instead of always having the same things to choose from. Let's say we want the authors to have a sort of portfolio or showcase section where they can either share links to websites or videos. And we want them to have a UI that lets them add one, either link or video, and add as many as they want. In the Keystatic config, we will find the authors collection, and in the schema after the avatar, let's add a showcase field. And here we're going to use fields.blocks. So inside here, we're going to define keys for every type of block that we want. The first one is link, and this one is going to have a label of link, and it's also going to need a schema. This is not a schema object here, but rather one field, but we can use an object field to have multiple fields in our schema. And so we want our links to have a label. This is the actual field, not a text label for the UI. Fields.text, and the label is label. Confusing, I know. And we'll have a URL, but let's use fields.url, and the label is URL, yeah. And TypeScript is yelling at us. It expects a second argument, which is where we pass the label for the showcase. Here, we'll pass a second object, and here we'll have label, showcase. Let's take a look at what we have for now. We should have a blocks field that has one type of block, link, with a label and URL. Here's our showcase, and when we add, we can only pick from the link block, which has a label and a URL. Before we store some data, let's create the second type of block, YouTube video ID. And Copilot got it right. The schema is going to be a text field with the YouTube video ID. So we'll paste the ID at the end of the YouTube video, and then on the front end, we'll have the embed code that expects this ID to display the video. All right, let's save that. And we are going to add some showcase stuff for Jed. Let's add a link first. And we will add another link. And finally, let's add a YouTube video ID. And I have a YouTube video here, so I will just keep the ID of it. So let's be done with this. So let's save that and have a look at what was created in the Jed's YAML file. And so you can see we have Jed, and then we have this showcase array, which has a discriminant of link or YouTube video embed. So in the front end, we'll be able to use the discriminant to decide which components to show. Okay, see how the individual items just say link or YouTube video ID, which are the blocks types. Let's instead have an item label to maybe display the website label and the YouTube video ID. So back in our config for both blocks, so the link and the YouTube video ID, we can pass an item label. So here we'll have an arrow function. We'll get the item and return item.fields.label.value. And if it's not defined, let's return your link needs a label. Again, instead of doing this, you probably want here to have some validation. The text field validation is slightly different. There is no is required, but there is a length that can take a min and max value. So let's go min 1 to make sure it's not an empty string. And with that in place, we don't need to pass a fallback value. And maybe let's specify that this is a link like so. Let's not forget a space. And so now we have link, ThinkMill website, and Keystatic website. And let's do the same for the YouTube video ID. We'll have an item label where we get the item, and we'll return YouTube ID plus item that here we can go straight to value because it's not an object field, but just a text field. And let's also add some validation. So length, min 1. And with all that, we should be set. So now our links and YouTube video ID are a little bit more descriptive, and something I haven't shown yet, but you can drag and drop these in any order. And so now if I save this and we check Jed's JSON file, the first link will be the YouTube video. All right, and to wrap up this lesson, let's go add some showcase items for Simon. So I here have a YouTube video. I will remove the timestamp and just keep the ID. And let's add a link. And we'll save this. And to make sure everything is up and running, check Simon's JSON file. And the showcase is here with the video and the website link.